Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. You are all divine beings with tremendous potential. We just have forgotten. That's why we feel weak. That's why we feel all these things. I'm not good. I'm not enough. We just have to learn to let go of all these handicapping things that we have learned. All these concepts, all these patterns, all this conditioning. This person, this human appearance is a temporary role we are playing, but behind that there is that divine being with tremendous potential. And right now it's important that we remind ourselves to be strong, not to be a victim. There are so many forces trying to push people, hurt people around, push people into a state of weakness, using fear, using confusion, making people into victims. You are not a victim. You are a divine being with great potential. Just remember that even if we are not capable of experiencing it directly, just remembering that gives encouragement, gives strength. And the more we are doing so, the more self-confidence is growing. That doesn't mean we have to behave arrogantly. It doesn't mean we have to somehow show off. It simply means that we stop handicapping ourselves, draining our energy for silly things, for all these mental tensions that come out of that identification with the role and feeling like a poor little victim. All that energy that gets lost when we are afraid, all that fear that is there. Nourishing that fear is simply draining our energy. No matter what is happening, we always can come back with the attention to that pure divinity, that pure essence of existence. It's always possible. No matter what is happening, that purity is not affected by it. And there is pure joyousness. Some call it bliss. Some call it anything. It's simply that pure joyousness of existence that cannot be affected, and we have the possibility to dive into that, to tap into that resource all the time. But for that, we have to be strong. Strong means getting firmer and firmer in that conviction that I can always consciously connect with that. No matter what is happening, it cannot be affected. Even trying to do so is increasing the self-confidence. So let's remind ourselves, whenever this kind of sentiments of weakness have the tendency to come over us, then no, there is the tremendous potential. Unconcerned, unaffected. All we have to do is to stop putting all those barriers in the way that we have built up meticulously because we were taught to do so, because we were living in a society where everybody believed they are that little weak creature, that little very limited human being, and out of their best intentions, they have taught us to think the same thing. This human state is just a temporary experience, a temporary dream that is happening. Prior to that, during that, after that, there is that divine being unaffected by any of this. Learn to bring the attention back home to that, and slowly these old conditionings will crumble. All these barriers that we have built and keep on strengthening and rebuilding without being aware that we are doing, they start to evaporate, they crumble down, and that inner beauty starts to reveal itself more and more. It's always possible. Circumstances may sometimes be not at all conducive. Circumstances may often be not pleasant, not happy, not to our liking. It's not a reason for not connecting. In spite of unpleasant circumstances, we can come back home, finding that joy of existence that is not affected by all that. Let's make that in our home. Let's make that in our base from where we are breathing, living, experiencing, existing. And then we have the strength to deal with all the negativity that is bombarded on us without getting into victim modes, without getting into that state of feeling weak and just helplessly being pushed around. Externally, often we may have to adapt. Externally, when the power organs that are there are in the hand of people who rather want to push the other peoples around, then sometimes one has to comply. But nobody can take away from you that possibility to come home, to be consciously here now, to live consciously here now, to breathe consciously here now, and learn to relax in it. And if we do that, we tapping into that source of joyousness, no matter what is happening. We just have to have the courage to do so. Nothing. This is some kind of utopia. Nothing that a few privileged ones can do so. The potential is there in everyone. We just have to have the courage. And if we courageously start to do so, every attempt is bringing strength. Every attempt is increasing that self-confidence. As I said, this is not arrogance. Arrogance means that we are putting that ego personality on a pedestal and want to show everybody else how great that personality is, greater than the others. It has nothing to do with that. That self-confidence simply means that we are deeply aware that no matter what is happening, my attention can be withdrawn in that space where nothing can affect it. My roots are in that space where all these external things cannot reach. That is the self-confidence that comes with consciously, courageously doing so. In the present time, it's very important we do so. People are not aware how much there are attempts to really hurt them in a direction that goes really downhill. The more people that become aware that they are not victims, that they have the possibility to say every moment yes or no to things, the more powerfully there is another energy created that is neutralizing that destructive force that is at work. So it's not only for our personal life, but actually, if we are courageous, if we are consciously connecting, then we are contributing something great, something beautiful to the whole world. That we can do, every one of us. Let's live like this, not being pushed helplessly, blindly into things that we don't want at all, but consciously go ahead step by step, knowing this is a role I'm playing temporarily. No matter what is happening, there is that safe haven. That is my home. Okay, my friend, I stop just talking away by myself. Is anyone here who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Ravi.
Um, um, so I've been reading about Swami Shivananda from Rishikesh,
Yes.
what he says about health, and he says that when you connect with the Atman, then that can destroy many diseases and or heal many diseases. And then another thing he says is just believe in the conviction that I am the Atman, I'm the bodiless, mindless, diseaseless. And that in itself, by embracing that, can be very healing. Don't really quite connect with what he said with regards, like that doesn't feel like, because I'm on this journey of getting back to health. over the last few years.
Yes.
I'm still on that journey. And he said, I don't quite connect. That doesn't feel for me that's something that I can say I'm the diseaseless, bodiless Atman. But I'm assuming just by connecting to that presence itself is the same thing. Is that right? That one doesn't need to kind of believe that conviction.
Right. It's, I mean, Shivananda, he was talking in the Indian traditional terms, but that
Yes.
Atma he talks about is that sense of presence that you're feeling right now when you say I, when you just become aware that you are here now, conscious, alive. And when you connect with that, then of course this is healing because it's automatically balancing out your subtle body. And most of the diseases, they start on the subtle level and then manifest on a physical level. And if the subtle body is harmonized and balanced out, then the physical body follows behind. Nevertheless, there may be some karma one has to endure. And what he said is definitely true. But I mean, how much we are capable to just manifest that immediately or not, that hang, there are a number of factors involved. And one is the karma we may have to work out. But even then, doing so, connecting and being aware that this self, this presence, this Atma cannot be affected by diseases helps very much to balance out the energy body, the subtle body, which in turn has a very healing influence on the physical body. Whether it immediately manifests or not, that is another question. That depends a lot of different aspects, but it has certainly a most healing influence, no doubt about that.
And when you say subtle body, are you talking, is it the mind you're talking about more there?
I mean that the mind is in a way very much seated on that subtle body, but what I mean is that energy body that is there simultaneously with the physical body, which is larger than the physical body and much more pliable. It's very much influenceable how we are thinking, how we are feeling. Then the physical body is also influenced, but it goes all very slow, whereas the subtle body reacts very quickly.
Sorry, I missed you there, Werner, when you were saying one reacts quickly and one slower.
The subtle body reacts very quickly. When we are thinking in a healthy, positive, constructive way, that immediately the subtle body adjusts to that, is reacting very quickly. The physical body takes a bit longer to manifest the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like the physical body is always lagging a bit behind and following up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to sit with that.
That's very good. But you need not get cut off because Shivananda uses a slightly different language. And if you try and then it doesn't have immediately a visible effect, don't think it's not working. But being aware that in your being, there is no possibility of disease. That's only in the manifestation, reminding yourself of that fact, connecting consciously with that, even if it's accepted just as a possibility, has a healing effect on all the levels.
Yeah. And I can accept it as a possibility. I like what he said, that that being space is the storehouse of vitality and health.
Mm.
My mind just goes, and I've been and that has been an impetus to connect more, and drawing strength from that. My mind seems to kind of, maybe it's a self-sabotage, or just wants to understand how in the moment that I connect to that space of divine presence, even if it is, I get it, like the fact that it's the storehouse of health, that feels good. But to say it's diseaseless, and by connecting with it, it's going to help you, I guess my mind wants to know, how does that work? Like, is it when you're in your head, in your mind or your body, you're attached to that sense of illness, that you have illness in your body, and that in itself prevents the consciousness, which I believe from reading from my learnings is the causes the functioning of the body, and then the mind can impinge that and stop that. And then when we let go of the mind and connect to that presence, we're letting go of all the impingements and all the beliefs around disease, and that presence, which is, there's no disease there, that's just beautiful energy, that grace that just flows through, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, you can very well say so. But don't waste too much time trying to understand. Because the understanding is helpful, that possibility is there. That understanding is necessary. That we can direct the attention in the right direction. And then in a way, just do it, just be, just connect and relax. And you can say it flows then in the body and has its influence, but don't try to too much to figure it out, for the mind is not involved in that process. The mind is involved in creating all the obstacles. And so we need that same mind, that we understand, that we believe that we have the possibility to cut through all these obstacles that we have created mentally, and then we have to shut up. And not think how exactly is it working then, because then it's again that identification with the me as a person, that I'm doing everything and I want to be on top of the situation by understanding it and in control, and that personality is not in control. What you are in control, and you don't need a mind and thoughts and that stuff for it.
Thank you so much, Werner, because that's it. And I've been feeling that it's just felt so good, that idea of the connecting to that presence, the storehouse, which is, it's all storehouse of health. That was enough. That's been enough.
Right.
So then my mind, like today, is just trying to work it. How is it? And it's like, oh yeah, thank you. So thank you. Yeah. I can let go of that now.
You can let go of that. Yes, very good. Great.
Thank you, Werner.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Hari Om.
Cheers.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to say something? That last aspect we just discussed with Ravi is an aspect that sneaks in not simply in the healing process, but it sneaks in that whole spiritual adventure, that whole spiritual development, that whole development to become natural. the way we have been brought up, automatically we think in order to be capable to do something, we have to know exactly, understand exactly, know a procedure, and then go correctly one step after another in that procedure what we are doing. And of course, that has its value on for certain things on the material level, things that we want to construct, that we want to do. But we cannot understand really that simple process of becoming natural. And yet we need the mind because all the problems have been created in the mind. In the mind, we are creating all tensions, all contradictions, all that sense of bondage. The way the mind has been formed in the education, and then the way the mind has been strengthened simply by living from that perspective and doing everything like this. So we have to catch the attention on that level where it is locked on that mental level, and the understanding is very helpful and necessary that we can understand, hey, come on, it need not be like this. I'm actually doing most of the things to myself that handicap me. When we start to have a good, honest look at ourselves, we start also to understand a lot of processes that we have been repeating unconsciously all the time without being aware of it. And once we look closely and honestly, we become aware much more. Often it's not a very pleasant picture that we are seeing. For that, the mind is useful. And then the mind still gives the impulse to open up, to go with the attention to that which is prior. But there, the mind cannot follow. We cannot understand that which is prior to that mental sphere. How could we? And that's an obstacle that we are easily creating, that, okay, this sounds good, but then we want to bring that same way of functioning to that level. Having a procedure, understanding the mechanism of it, learning the procedure, getting in control of it with mental work, with understanding, and it simply doesn't work. We have to bring the attention with the mind to the border and then let go, and just let go, relax. And then the attention sinks back to the source. And from there is a knowing by being, not a knowing by calculating and thinking and understanding. There is a knowing because it's naturally there. That knowledge, that self-knowledge, all the spiritual knowledge is already there. But we need not try to understand. We just bring with the understanding the attention in the right direction, and eventually we just have to relax. And in that relaxing, all the grace from the essence, from the self, starts to flow into our manifestation, and more, the body, the mind, the intellect, the energies flowing through it becomes a beautiful expression of that which is prior to all that you are, that you cannot say you don't know, because it's the most intimate, it's the closest, it's that which is always there prior to everything, during everything, after everything. It's never absent. We cannot possibly say we don't know it, but we don't know it like we know something else, that I know something. We know it by being, not by understanding. And so at a certain point, whether it is now for the process that Ravi described, that we can learn to let those inner healing powers flow into the manifestations, whether it's simply that we learn to be instead of always being this or that and busy in the mind, just learn to be quiet, then the mind cannot help there. And we have to learn to simply let go. Simply let go, even trying to understand. And more, we become aware, yes, it's everything is there. It's natural. Okay. Again, I'm asking, is there anyone who would like to come? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Andreas.
In the spring, I always get hay fever. It's getting better, but so what can I do about that? I mean, probably it's not going. It's over the years it has become a little bit better, and I have like the idea that yeah, when I'm more centered, that it's not so bad, but it's still there. It doesn't go away. And if I have it really bad, I completely get lost. I'm not able to center very much anymore because it itches all the time.
It itches your nose and your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the nose, it's constantly like dripping or producing mucus.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the center and relax. It helps a little bit, but it's not completely going away.
But it helps, at least it helps. It's making it a bit better. Now, you can try just as a practical tip. Okay, if you find yourself, the nose is again itching like anything and dripping, that you just put your full attention in that experience of itching. And it may become even worse when you do that. Then it looks like, oh, it's getting worse and worse and worse. But then while you're doing that consciously, just relax as good as you can and start on the same level where that itching is. Start to relax the body, relax the whole rest of the body that is not affected directly, immediately by the itching. Relax your legs and feet and your shoulders and be totally aware of that itching. Focus on it instead of trying to ignore it or do something that you forget it. Put your attention on it and relax. And in that relaxing, that healing power that we have been discussing with Ravi has a chance to much more flow on that physical level, and especially go then to that place where something hurts or is disturbed, and you put your attention on it. It may, if you do that often, it may slowly reduce, and it's possible that eventually maybe your hay fever may even go away.
I mean, it has become, I think, a little bit better the more I'm getting centered and not so much in my head anymore, but it's still there, and yeah, sometimes like in the spring, the whole body feels like strange, like that I'm
yeah.
disconnected from it, or
Mhm,
like I cannot really describe it very well.
mhm. But if you do that consciously with confidence, then definitely it can get better, even more better. And maybe it may even go away completely.
Okay, I try.
Good, great.
Yeah.
Hario, Hario. Is anyone else there who would like to say something? This, this self-healing is something that has been very much suppressed, that it's much more powerful than what people think. The physical body, if we don't disturb it, if we let the natural energies flow freely in that body, through that body, is amazing how it's both capable of healing. As I said to Ravi, there may be sometimes a karma one has to somehow work out, which has its own power, its own weight. But if we go about something patiently, again and again, it's amazing how much we can heal, even on the physical level. And what I just said to Andreas, it can be applied to many things. Sometimes when there is too much pain and it's unbearable, then it may not be a good idea to totally focus on that pain. And it may be better to learn to, because it's overwhelming, that pain, to learn to redirect the attention to the other parts of the body and slowly relax. But with most of the things, when they are paining, they are not unbearable. And what I just said about focusing on the nose when it's itching and there is hay fever, that we can apply to wherever we feel there is a center of something that is totally wrong in the body. We may not know exactly what it is, but we feel from there is pain, and from there an energy, a vibe is going in the body that has the tendency to make also the rest of the body sick. That we not day in and day out, but every now and then really putting the attention right in the center where something is wrong. If we do so, don't be afraid. It may feel worse. It may feel more immediately intensive. But then simultaneously with doing so, we have to relax. And we start relaxing, not trying desperately to relax that pool of tension or pain that is there, trying to sort of doing it with a particular technique, but just relax the whole rest of the body. And in doing so, and connecting with that place that is hurt, that is sick, that creates troubles, then if we relax the whole rest of the body, it's like the balance energetically and physically is restored, and it starts to flow from all the other parts of the body towards that center where there is a problem. And if we do so, it definitely it has a very, very healing effect. Whether immediately after that it starts to manifest that it's being healed, or whether it takes some time, that depends and is different from situation to situation. But in all the cases, if we do so, it has a tremendous healing effect. And we may be amazed sometimes how things that we thought, oh, they are going to stick around and create troubles for a long time, how quickly they may simply disappear. Does anyone want to say something? You're welcome. I guess what I just described is also what healers are using when they do it with other people. But instead of just focusing on their own body, they have learned, they have maybe brought along that gift, or then they have learned in course of the process to more and more feel in other bodies disturbances. I've never trained as a healer, never practiced, so I don't know much about it, but if one can feel in another body disturbances, a center of pain, a center of disharmony, then if we connect, even if it's not this body, but another body, if we connect and focus on that, and then relax in that, then I'm sure we can also send a lot of healing energy to other people, not only in our own personal body, but also in the bodies around. I guess that's what healers are doing in one way or another, whether they are quite conscious that this is what they are doing or not. The self is whole, is healed, is free of diseases. Diseases is a manifestation of an imbalance that is very present on this material level, less present on a subtle level, but still present. But that which is prior to even the subtle level, that which is prior to manifestation, doesn't know imbalances and diseases. And we can always tap into that resource. It's always there. The same thing that in the beginning I was expressing. Let's tap into that source of strength that is there, that need not be produced, that is never absent. we can certainly do the same thing with the healing intent. If there is something that needs to be corrected, no doubt about it.
Hello
Yes,
again.
yes.
Can you say something about what you expressed? I heard before in like esoteric circles, and sometimes people turn it around in a way that you're self-responsible for your diseases. Like one of the, I think, stupidest things I heard is that, like when people asked someone, "Why did you give yourself cancer?" Like something like that, and I think this is very this is wrong and very wrong in a way. But a lot of times this kind of thinking ends up in a way like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Please.
We need not even go into the question of responsibility or try to figure out exactly where it has come from. But we can, what I have been describing, we can just deal with the present fact instead of going to analyze and think it has come up because of this and has come up because of that. And these are all intellectual speculations, and sometimes they may be right and sometimes they may be completely off. No matter where it's come from. But if there is something that is creating severe trouble, that we cannot be at ease and peace, so it makes sense that we take care of it. That obstacle to our being at peace, at ease in the present is removed. And then if we do so, we can do so without even asking the question, what is responsible for it? But just see what is happening and deal directly with that. And I agree to you, it's not a nice thing that what people sometimes do and say, yes, it's all your own fault, so don't make a fuss about it. That doesn't help anyone. That is again the me personality that wants to show off how knowledgeable they are, and then they become insensitive sometimes.
Yes. What's the English word for Verdrängung? I just don't know it.
Suppress.
Yeah. Yes. On Thursday, I had like a very strange encounter with a client in a group. Like sometimes I show like a picture, and they're like the disease is depicted as a monster,
Yeah.
and all the people in the group have COPD, so it's a severe lung disease, and she completely freaked out. She got very emotional and said, like, "You cannot show me a picture like that. This is really bad what you do to me." She was completely in denial and suppression of it, and a lot of times the people in the group do it because it's basically their condition is getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, and this is not a very nice thought. So I think sometimes it's good to suppress it, but sometimes, I mean, yeah, it was very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any? I mean, and it was not a very nice encounter because you got like personal that I shouldn't do it, and it's kind of you have studied, you should understand better than that, and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, maybe say something about it.
Yes, but that just to be clear, that group is sitting together because of that, because they all have that same disease. What did you call
Yes,
it?
COPD.
I don't know that.
Pulmonary disease, like
Ah.
before it was called chronic bronchitis or
Oh.
Raucherhusten.
Oh, I see, I
Mostly
see. Yeah, yeah.
people get it, and they all end up with this. They all need oxygen, like they have all this these tubes that brings oxygen to them because the lung isn't functioning very, and they get very weak. They can only like walk sometimes 20 meters, and then they have to sit down and gasp for air, and then continue walking.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
eventually, they all die of heart disease because the heart-lung system is getting so weak that they
Yeah.
cannot do. Yeah.
And normally there are no cures known that one can get out of that.
There's no cure. It's in the best way you can slow it down a lot, but if you smoke, then it's getting downhill very fast, and it's always going down.
And actually, just also to understand, what was your intention with showing them a picture of the disease?
The disease, it's like the disease is like a monster that is preventing them from going to a nice sunny island to have. I mean, the picture basically means like a lot of times when you have to think about the disease and the bad things that happen or that you cannot do anymore, then they feel depressed, and it feels like the disease, the monster, is like they cannot reach to a sunny island anymore, which is in the picture too, and have to live in a desert, which is not very nice. So that's the picture they have in their mind. The disease is taking away all the fun in life or all the good possibilities, and then they feel depressed. And then usually I show a second picture where the monster is on a little cartridge, no, on a little car thing that you pull behind you, and the monster is sitting on there, and you have to accept the disease and make the best out of it. That's like the picture that is usually the message. And but I didn't get there in no way because she was so emotional. I had to leave the subject, otherwise she would have left the room.
I see. But basically, what you try to show them that they still can reach the sunny island if they want to.
If that by like denial and suppression, it's usually that. It makes it worse usually.
Yeah, right. And definitely, yes, you're right. Now, what do you expect from me that I talk about it, how to deal in such a situation with those people?
No, I think usually no, maybe about denial, that like
about denial, yes,
to the whole subject we're discussing today.
Yeah, because what I'm talking about is not necessarily applicable to people who are in a group like this all the time to the letter, because what I'm talking is I'm addressing people who are willing to make an effort to make their life better. That's why people come in a satsang. The other people there may also be willing to do that to some extent, but then many times they may just hope to get a bit comfort from the companionship. And then you cannot necessarily tell them the same things that I'm telling you.
I never do.
But right, denying facts is not definitely ever resolving them. Sometimes it's just a security measure that for the time being, it may be too much, too overwhelming, that one pushes it back. For a momentary measure, that may be even justified. But basically, holding on to a denial is simply giving whatever problem is there more power and more range to really function. It's much better that somehow or other we have to confront problems, whether they are physical, emotional, intellectual, whatever problems we have. If we confront them, then we have the chance to connect with them and find solutions and maybe get the problems out of the way. If we deny it, then the problem is there and feeding on us and maybe getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's for sure. Confrontation is always healthier than denial, except I say for a little moment it may be justified when it's a situation at that moment too much overwhelming that for a time being it may be justified to push something away, but knowing sooner or later the moment comes this is not a good strategy. The strategy is to accept. Acceptance is always the first step. Accept the fact as it is and not deny the fact as it is. And in that acceptance, actually, there, that's what you are trying them to tell them, then they are pulling the monster behind them and they still can connect the sunny island with the acceptance. But it's opening also the acceptance of a fact that it is as it is opening the possibility that we can actually influence it and maybe even heal it. And even diseases that are being declared, they are not, you cannot heal them. Suddenly, to everybody's surprise, one may be capable of healing oneself, even from a thing like this. But of course, there has to be enough of that presence there that one at all tries. And if it's not immediately manifesting, is capable of doing it again and again and again. And then even diseases that one thought one cannot heal may be healed.
Yeah, most of the people are not very are not very like spiritual in that, or trying to use this kind of healing. They're more conservative people and have a tendency for denial and suppression.
Right. I have a lot to do with people like this. It's clear you cannot tell them to make an effort and start to actively self-heal, because no, they want the magic pill that is doing everything for them. But still, also on that level, if you can convey to them that the denial is not a help, that they have to learn to accept, but accept in such a way that that acceptance is not making them weak and a victim, but acceptance with strength. Okay, I accept that trouble is there, that handicap is there, but then after all, there is not only that, there is still so many other things, how I can function, how I can live my life, that the focusing only on the misery of it and actually denying exactly what it is just supporting that it's getting worse and worse. And if one accepts and then reassesses the situation, there is possibilities open up. Even you said, okay, the most of them would not even have the inkling of starting self-healing, but at least they may have, then after that, it may open up to them. After all, I can still live my life bearably and enjoy certain things in my life in spite of what is there.
Yeah, I was just getting doubtful about like in the early phases of the disease, it might be much better for them to do a lot of suppression and denial, because then they don't. I mean, it's really a bad outlook that is given by traditional medicine. Yeah, it's like you're going to die, and it's much sooner than usually, and you're going to get weaker and weaker, and I mean, I can even see that in the group, because always there are a lot of different phases, people that have different phases, and if they have it's already advanced, they can see, okay, these people can only walk like 100 meters, and then they have to sit down, and they cannot walk. They have to like they cannot go upstairs anymore.
Right. When I say acceptance, then I don't necessarily mean acceptance of that judgment that you have that disease now and you cannot do anything and it just goes down the drain. But acceptance of their own situation, however it is, that there is something severely wrong, that is severely creating trouble, and then feel that trouble, and then see that in spite of that, after all, there is still the possibility to be alive and to be joyous in spite of that, but not acceptance as it's a hopeless situation, I cannot do anything, I'm a victim of that.
Yeah. Okay.
And for sadhaks, there is always the possibility to accept, okay, I have a disease, it's a disease of what everybody says, one cannot heal it, there is no cure for that, and then one can sincerely put that attention into that. Accept the situation, okay, that is there. No point in denying that, but not necessarily accept the story that is being given by the medicine, what is possible and what is not possible. Accept that is there, at the same time be aware there is something completely whole and healed in myself, and I can tap into that, and from there some magnificent healing power can flow in such a way into the manifestation that even diseases that seem to be incurable can be cured.
But what about like this holy people that died of cancer, like the last karma part before the one that is now in charge? He died of cancer, or didn't even Nisargadatta died of lung cancer and
throat cancer he had, right? But then at a certain time, a man like Nisargadatta, he doesn't want to get rid of that disease. He may do a lot of things that people are not aware when he accepts the disease. And after all, he was not the man who wanted to extend his life more and more and more. He was ready. I've done enough. I want to get out. And in the last phase of his life, accepting the disease. And if a man like this accepts the disease and doesn't fight against it, he may do a lot of other things people may be not aware of.
what kind of things?
That he's harnessing a lot of power, which is of course, somebody who does that is always the first who is benefiting, but at the same time, he radiates that, and especially those who are closely connected with him may get something great out of that without their necessarily being aware of it.
Does that also hold true for like Ajahn Chah? He was, I don't know if you have heard about him. He was he's a Buddhist monk, and it looks to me like he was realized, and he has a lot of Western disciples who founded monasteries in the West. So he's like one of the most well-known Thai teachers. But he got like a stroke at a certain point, and then they just wheeled him around in a wheelchair for a long time, and you
Yeah.
see, it wasn't really clear how much he's there anymore.
I cannot say. I don't know about the details. And even if I knew, maybe I would be able to say, maybe not, whether whether this is a similar thing. I have no doubt in cases like Nisargadatta Maharaj, his disease had much more meaning than it would have had to a man who is not in his state. And if he really would have put his intent to it, he could have cured that cancer, but choose not to do so.
Okay. Because he's not so attached anymore to his body and pain
Right.
and stuff.
And then accepting that pain, accepting that increasing physical disability, and being still in that clarity, there happens something magical that is for the good of anyone who has connected with him there.
Okay.
Our goal is not that we can now heal diseases and then be alive forever. But we can also, when sometimes Mahatmas, they don't bother to heal their own bodies. They may heal all kinds of people, but maybe not healing their own body because they think, okay, then I experience the body in pain, and somehow doing something like that on a subtle level simultaneously, that harnesses a lot of energy. But for a sadhak, I would recommend that we keep the body in a reasonably healthy state, because if it's too sick, it's disturbing too much, it's very difficult to keep that clarity. And so we can really develop that confidence in self-healing. And then a Mahatma may often heal, and people are not aware that there was even a disease, or a disease was coming along, and the Mahatma may heal that, but then also sometimes think, no, let it manifest and has its place in the whole story, whatever they are busy with.
That means that sometimes there's something to be learned for the people that have the disease.
Well, it depends of whom you are talking. Like, yes, sometimes we can learn from a disease a lot about ourselves, about our reactions, about our mental functionings that we not have been quite aware about, how easily we slip into self-pity, how easily we make excuses when something doesn't go so well, that me as a person, I'm in the right and can expect anything from everybody else, and all this stuff may come very much to the forefront, and disease may teach quite some good lessons. But I still say it's not a bad thing that one learns to have confidence. Actually, I can reasonably heal my body, and if eventually the time comes that the body has to go, then in one way or another it has to go. Now, you cannot exactly, we may not make the judgments why somebody is keeping in a totally detached state, why somebody is keeping sometimes diseases and sometimes not, because their way of functioning and interconnecting with the whole manifestation defies the usual logic. So I cannot say at all whether that teacher, when he was apparently like absent on this level, whether he was just absent, or whether he was a Mahatma who really played that role through, let it happen, and still continues his work that he has been doing before. Both is possible.
Have you seen Amma curing diseases?
She did cure in the beginning when mainly the villagers came. She did cure a lot of diseases, but then when more and more as sadhaks came, that aspect was getting less and less, because she didn't want to be a healer there, but a teacher for those who are looking for truth. But I saw her body filling up and emptying itself mysteriously with diseases. They came and there for a moment and go again. It's unbelievable.
She did heal herself.
It seemed that sometimes she took stuff and then she would be like for a moment like that sick and be on the ground, and then it may go for 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, and then it's as if nothing was there.
When you open up to this divine energy, is it possible that you have like it's a different kind of vibration? Is it possible that you get more likely to get cancer because you change the vibration level?
No, it's not because of that. No, no.
Good.
That when you are getting more consciously aware of your natural energy, then it's not going to create cancer. But the body may have to have a time where it needs to adjust a bit and feel a bit, so all kinds of pains and stuff, that the body is capable again to carry that level of energy. Like
Okay.
Ramana Maharshi, he was a special case. Apparently without any training, he just shifted into a new space. And from there, then he came and was sitting here with an intensity that the body was always lacking behind. and so was showing a lot of difficulties right already in the middle of his age. His body started to shake and have this kind of funny manifestations that it looked like he has Parkinson disease. And when he was asked, yeah, Bhagavan, you seem to be in like a middle-aged man and already like your body is shaking like this. What's the reason? It shouldn't happen to you. And he jokingly said, if you tie a big elephant into small shelf, a hut, then all kinds of troubles will appear to that hut. He certainly could have taken the trouble to bring his system always up to the level, but he was a unique case. He was so totally immersed in that, and then just sitting there and harnessing tons of power, it just didn't bother to give attention to that. So his body was manifesting all kinds of diseases, didn't in the least deflect anything of his self-awareness and the intensity and the beauty with which he was expressing it. But people are not in a detached state like Ramana Maharshi, so for most of the people it's rather advisable that as the elephant is growing, that they're also increasing the size of the hut. Okay, let's leave the subject. Huh?
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Bye.
Is there anyone? Who would like to come in? I see there is a message. Let's see. Basically, Mariam confirms that she's right now in an experience like that. Had an accident, something fell on her toe. And if she connects with the essence, it's like the pain is fading. And if the attention is somehow pulled in that me suffering person, then the pain is increasing. Illustrating that as soon as you are bringing the attention back to the self, then something very beautiful is flowing on all the levels. Anyhow, is there anybody who would like to come in that we speak maybe not about healing, something else for a little moment? Although healing is important. I think we talked enough about that for today. Whether it is for healing, whether it is simply for learning to be conscious, whether it is to find the strength to deal with the problems, with the difficulties of the day-to-day life. That which helps most is that we basically learn to connect with our essence, with that source of strength that is always there. And then for the different things, we can learn different measures, take different measures, do things what we need to do. But the strength that it becomes creative, that it is something that unfolds, that everything becomes an expression of the self. It is necessary that we learn to consciously connect. We are always connected, but have forgotten. And then the attention is always everywhere else, except with what I usually call that sense of presence, that we know so perfectly well, that is always here. And we just need for a moment not to send the attention, the thought somewhere, but just be. And it's there, very familiar, totally familiar, that sense of presence. When I say I, it's touching immediately. But even if I don't say anything, just take a breath without thinking about this, about that, just taking a breath, breathe in, breathe out, relax. That sense of presence that is not affected by what is happening. That sense of presence that doesn't know suffering. That sense of presence that is not having any problems. bring the attention back to that again and again. Sometimes it sticks. Sometimes it happens by itself if we start to consciously do so. Sometimes it simply manifests for a moment, for a period, then it may go again, and we just come back to consciously bringing the attention back to that ground out of which all this is growing. Everything is emerging from that. This is prior to the manifestation. The more we getting really rooted in that consciously, that connection is not simply unconscious, but we consciously experiencing that, the more everything we are experiencing, everything we are doing becomes an expression of that inner beauty on all the levels, whether it has to do with physical health, whether it has to do with doing our job, whether it has to do with doing our spiritual practice, whether it has to do with just simply interacting with people. The more we are rooted in that, the more just it's flowing through the manifestation, and everything becomes an expression of that inner beauty of the self. All right, let's stop with that for today. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.